Hi everyone, you are reading Sylvia Plath's Lady Lazarus this week, and I've included a link for you to listen to Miss Plath herself read that, but I wanted to walk through a little bit of the poem and just some of the things to pay attention to. As you start to read it and listen to it, you'll notice immediately that it is broken into multiple three-line stanzas. So the lines themselves are all relatively short, almost conversational, and you can begin to ask yourself, who is Plath talking to? Is she talking to you, the universal reader? Is she addressing her piece to someone else? We get into I Have Done It Again, 1 year in every 10 I manage it, which refers to Plath's suicide attempts. This poem has been called Confessional, meaning that it is based on her own life and her own experiences. And so, unlike other pieces where I encourage you to not necessarily affiliate the author with the narrator, in this piece you are encouraged to do so. So you can envision a young Plath who we know ended her life after several suicide attempts. And this is her processing her grief, her mental anguish. So she's attempted multiple suicides, and obviously she has not yet succeeded in this poem since it is being written. As I had mentioned last week regarding Plath's use of Holocaust references, that already begins in stanza 2, a sort of walking miracle, my skin bright as a Nazi lampshade. And your footnote in your text will tell you that during World War II, prisoners of some Nazi camps were gassed and their body parts were turned into objects such as lampshades and paperweights. And as grotesque as that is, Plath already in stanza 2 confronts us with that gruesome imagery. So she has lampshades and paperweights as body parts, and her face is a fine Jew linen. Peel off the napkin, oh my enemy, do I terrify. So here she's addressing whomever her enemy is, and she's asking, am I scary to you? Like Dickinson, we have that dash ending those first and fourth stanzas. We have the nose, the eye pits, the full set of teeth, the sour breath will vanish in a day. So again, the fine Jew linen face, the various parts of it, the sour breath, soon the flesh, the grave cave ate will be at home on me. So she's envisioning her body disintegrating in a grave. And I, a smiling woman, I am only 30, and like the cat, I have 9 times to die. So again, an allusion to her doing, her attempting suicide before, and this is number 3. What a crash to annihilate each decade. So she's almost punctuating each decade of her life with a suicide attempt. What a million filaments, referring to the filaments in a light bulb. So imagining a crowd, the peanut crunching crowd shoves into sea. So her death or her attempts at death become a spectacle for others to almost enjoy or be amused by. And then wrap me head to feet, the big striptease. So equating this to something erotic and sexy, again, is gruesome and disquieting. Gentlemen, ladies, these are my hands, my knees. I may be skin and bone, nevertheless, I am the same identical woman. The first time it happened to me, I was 10. It was an accident, so this is the first suicide attempt. The second time I meant to last it out and not come back at all. I rocked shut as a seashell. So she attempted suicide, we know, by taking pills and climbing under her family's home. They had to call and call, so as she's knocked out under the house, people were looking for her and pick off the worms like sticky pearls. So an effective simile of what it might be like to find somebody who's passed out under a house, and how, had she been lying there long enough, perhaps animals and insects might have begun to crawl on her. Dying is an art like everything else. I do it exceptionally well. So she is equating the art of suicide with art like poetry or music. I do it so it feels like hell. I do it so it feels real. I guess you could say I have a call. So this is a very flippant tone, a very bragging tone about something that people don't tend to brag about. It's easy enough to do it in a cell. It's easy enough to do it and stay put. It's the theatrical comeback in broad day to the same place, the same face, the same brute, amused shout. So it's easy enough to do it in a cell. It's easy enough to do it and stay put. There's repetition there. There's repetition in the previous stanza. So what is that repetition doing? What is it reinforcing? Because we use repetition to reinforce. Amused shout, a miracle that knocks me out. So the suicide attempts were not successful, and when she is able to come back, when she is found, when she doesn't fully succeed, it's deemed a miracle. There is a charge for the eyeing of my scars. There is a charge for the hearing of my heart. So she has not succeeded in ending her own life, but if you want her to talk about it, if you want her to be your amusement, there's going to be a charge for it. She's going to make you pay. There is a charge, a very large charge, for a word or a touch or a bit of blood or a piece of my hair or my clothes. So she's monetizing her death. So, Herr Doctor, so Herr Enemy. So the use of that title, Herr, the German word that you would assign to a man in charge, like we would use the term Mr., again, almost as she is a Jewish person addressing a Nazi soldier. I am your opus, I am your valuable, the pure gold baby that melts to a shriek. So she's equating herself, her life, her body, with something that is of worth to other people. I turn and burn. Do not think I underestimate your great concern. Ash, ash, you poke and stir, flesh, bone, there is nothing there. A cake of soap, a wedding ring, a gold filling. Again, referencing what was taken from Jewish prisoners of war. Often they were asked to disrobe. They were told to give over or forced to give over all of their jewelry. Even they had their gold fillings taken out of their mouth because the gold could be melted down. So everything that was of value was taken from them and used by the Nazis. And so she is making allusions to this again, but she's also envisioning herself burning. And then she goes from Herr Doctor, Herr Enemy, possibly referencing Mengele, the notorious and infamous Nazi doctor who performed horrendous tests on Jewish prisoners. So we have Herr Doctor, Herr Enemy, Herr God, Herr Lucifer. We have God and Satan in one word, as if they were the same thing. Beware, beware, to both of them, to all of them. Out of ash I will rise with my red hair, and I eat men like air. So we have this inline referencing the phoenix that rises from the ashes. So does it take death to rebirth Plath? Or is her only way to escape what she equates, that's not a word, what she equates to her pain to the Holocaust? Is that the only way to do that? Through dying, which she does like an art. So again, we have this tone that's very almost jocular and taunting and bragging, and she's talking throughout to someone whom we can presume is a male, and we know that she had feelings for her father and the loss of her father and her anger at his dying when she was so young and essentially abandoning her. We also know that she had feelings about her husband cheating on her and her leaving him. So is this those men? Is it all men? Is it God? Is it her own mental health? Pretty powerful piece, pretty contentious piece, just again in that use of Holocaust imagery. There is a feeling of power at the end. There's a feeling of vindication and righteousness and survival, if I could suggest it, at the end of this piece. So I'm curious about your thoughts on this piece, and if you're interested in digging into the companion to this, her poem Daddy is also in your Norton anthology. You're not required to read it, but you might want to just to contrast it to this piece. So enjoy digging into Plath a little bit deeper.